thought she had left.
We're going to head out of here very, very soon, and you're going to take us to where you buried her.
Yeah.
She will likely be exhumed tomorrow.
Okay.
At some point, and after that, a pathologist, a specialist doctor, will perform a post-mortem.
Yeah.
They're very skilled at establishing people's causes of death. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Did you kill Grace Millane? Okay. Jesse Kempson, you're under arrest for the murder of Grace Millane.
On behalf of New Zealand, I want to apologise to Grace's family. Your daughter should have been safe here, and she wasn't, and I'm sorry for that.
You have no reason to convict me. You're full of
The tragic case of Grace Millane. Now, who is Grace Millane? She was a British tourist who was murdered in Auckland, New Zealand. In December 2018, Grace Emmy Rose Millane was born on December 2nd, 1996 in Brentwood, Essex, the third child and only daughter of parents Gillian and David, who already had two young sons, Michael and Declan. An outgoing teenager who loved music and was a talented hockey player, she went on to earn a degree in advertising and marketing from the University of Lincoln. She left her home in Wickford, Essex, in October 2018 and flew to South America for the first leg of her gap year. Millane was on a 2-week stay in New Zealand after spending 6 weeks in South America. After arriving in New Zealand on November 20th, she spent 10 days traveling around the Upper North Island, including Cape Rena and the Bay of Islands, before heading to Auckland. She arrived in Auckland on November 30th. At 9 p.m. on December 1st, she was seen in Victoria Street in Auckland's Central Business District, and 15 minutes later she was seen via CCTV at Sky City. She was last seen at 9:41 p.m. at the City Life Hotel on Queen Street with Jesse Kempson. The following are the Tinder messages British backpacker Grace Millane's murderer sent to lure her into a first date before murdering her. The messages show Jesse Kempson was the one pushing for a date with the 21-year-old, offering free drinks for her birthday to persuade her to meet with him. At no stage in the Tinder messages is Millane the aggressor, nor does she discuss anything sexual or intimate. On Friday, November 30th at 11:31 p.m., her murderer Jesse Kempson sent the first message saying, "Hi Grace, how are you? Much planned for your weekend?" Millane replied, "Hey, I'm good thanks, and it's actually my birthday tomorrow, but I have no plans." He then says, "Oh, happy birthday for tomorrow. Much planned for this evening then?" "Haha, thank you, I haven't," Millane wrote back. The murderer suggests getting a drink and Millane says, "Yeah, maybe yes," he writes. "Convince me," says Millane. The killer then says several times he will shout the drinks if the 21-year-old agrees to meet him. He suggests a cool Mexican place up near Sky City that does great cocktails. "Okay, no to the Mexican, but maybe to the cocktails," Millane responds. The murderer then says, "Okay, there's a few places up there that do great cocktails. How about we meet at Sky City?" "I haven't said yes yet," said Millane. "You haven't said no either. So what's it gonna take to make this happen then?" he messaged. "Would be nice." Millane tells him she only has casual clothes with her, and he says that is fine. "So that is a yes? Meet up near Sky City," he persists. By now, it is almost 3 a.m. Millane tells him okay, and tells him to add her on Facebook, giving him her full name. She reminds him she is literally in Converse, and he reiterates that her casual attire is fine, and suggests they meet at 6 p.m. that day. Hours earlier, she had messaged her friend during a Tinder date with the killer, telling her, "I click with him so well." It would be the last communication she would have with the friends and family she had left behind in Britain, those who loved her so much. Hours earlier, all the signs were she felt nothing other than excitement and optimism. Leaving the base backpackers hostel in Auckland, she strode out into the city center streets dressed in a neat knee-length black dress, clutching a small handbag, just as the rain that day was coming to an end. CCTV footage showed the pair meeting near the Sky Tower at about 5:45 p.m., minutes after Millane sent a photo of the Sky City Christmas tree to her family. That was the last message they ever received from her. After greeting her murderer, who appears to see her and almost turned to walk away before carrying on to meet her, Millane walks with him to Andy's Burger Bar. The pair would drink for 5 hours before going back to his apartment in the City Life building on Queen St. Further CCTV footage showed them kissing, hugging, and entering the building looking relaxed and happy. Grace met her Tinder date at Sky City, an entertainment complex with restaurants, casinos, and bars. The spot where they agreed to meet is very well known in New Zealand's biggest city. The Sky Tower is one of the most obvious icons on the city's skyline, visible for miles around and the focus of many events. At the end of September 2018, just over 2 months before she died, she wrote on Twitter, "Less than a month and counting," as she ticked off the days before her big trip began. Emojis on her social media feed hinted at her trepidation and excitement as she posted a GIF subtitled, "I'm going on an adventure," on the day she headed out, first to Peru. Kempson had had a busy few weeks and months on Tinder. He had shared a number of conversations with women on the app, in which he told one he liked feet, dominating, and strangulation. He boasted to another Tinder date that he was the cousin of an All Blacks star before they engaged in a sex act during which she had to fight for her life. Then, days before he met Grace, he hooked up with a waitress, which led to a night of what she described as rough sex, during which he put his hand round her throat after she asked him to. As he prepared to join Grace on their night out, Kempson dropped into his local bar, the Bluestone Room, right next to the City Life Hotel where he was living. CCTV shows him downing 4 bottles of beer in the half hour before their arranged meeting, cutting a lonely figure in a drinking house well off the main drag. Their entire time together at Sky City was caught on camera, and the footage shown to the jury shows them chatting as they go up on an escalator to Andy's Burger and Bar, where they order cocktails from a barman and move on to a table to talk. At some point, they must have discussed payment, as Kempson makes sure he is the one who uses a card to purchase the drinks. An hour and a half later, they leave the bar and head back outside and onto a restaurant less than a block away, the Mexican Cafe. After another hour and a quarter, 2 jugs of margarita and 1 of sangria later, Kempson again arranges himself so he can pay the bill as they leave the cafe and head to the Bluestone Room, where he had been drinking alone earlier.
There was no evidence to suggest that Grace Millane suspected Jesse Kempson was a murderer during their time together. In fact, the messages she sent to her friend while on the date indicated that she felt comfortable and thought the date was going well. She described Kempson as normal, which suggests she did not have any immediate concerns or suspicions about him. Tragically, Kempson's violent and dangerous nature only became apparent later that night, after they had left the bar and gone to his apartment. Grace had no way of knowing the danger she was in at that time. The fact that she did not suspect anything untoward highlights the shocking and unexpected nature of the crime. They were seen together at a cafe, and the footage shows them talking, laughing, and appearing to enjoy each other's company. Grace looked carefree and happy, with no indication of the terrible events that would unfold later that evening.
Another camera inside the bar catches them seating themselves at a table after apparently ordering drinks, chatting to a doorman, and then continuing to talk. Kempson appears completely relaxed. He is comfortable as he puts his arm around the man who goes on to serve drinks. Grace, too, seems very happy. She has been talking rapidly, appearing to be explaining something keenly to her date, smiling constantly and using her hands to emphasize what she is saying. At 8:40 p.m., Kempson puts his hand behind Grace's head and pulls it towards his, kissing her for a second or so. Who could have thought something might go wrong? Everything seemed to be going well and romantic. This day they met for a date was the eve of Grace's 22nd birthday.
The footage of Grace Millane on the night of her murder is indeed heartbreaking because it shows her appearing happy and relaxed.
If only she knew what was in store for her, that she was actually on a date with a murderer, but sadly you can
Never know about the future, so
over the next hour, they kiss several times more, only stopping briefly while first Kempson walks out of shot and Grace checks her phone, as it turned out, sending her final message to her friend.
she texted a friend that Kempson was normal and that the date was going well. British backpacker Grace Millane told a friend she was enjoying her Tinder date, texting, "I click with him so well," just hours before he strangled her to death in a hotel room. Then Kempson walks out of shot as he checks his phone. In fact, it was this one act that led police right to him. He had gone onto his phone to post a message on her Facebook page. During their date, Jesse Kempson was seen on CCTV rifling through Grace Millane's purse when she left the Table 1. The exact reason for this action wasn't explicitly detailed in the reports, but it was part of the evidence used to track his movements and build the case against him. Soon after 9:30 p.m., the footage shows them leaving and heading to the lobby of the City Life Hotel, where they enter the lift, Jesse fumbling for his keycard as they head towards room 308. Exactly what happened in the room after the couple arrived isn't known, apart from the fact that Kempson murdered Grace. What is known is that he didn't call anyone and ask for help when she died. There was no call to the emergency services. Instead, at 1:30 a.m. on Sunday, as Grace lay dead in his room, Kempson carried out a number of internet searches which indicate not just how unconcerned he was about her death, but how he was actively plotting to conceal it. Using his mobile phone, he looked up hottest fire and Waitakere Ranges, the location where he would later try to bury Grace in a shallow grave. Then Kempton trawled a pornography website called Pornhub for videos to watch. He also took 7 intimate photographs of Grace's dead body, including close-ups, manipulating her body to get the shots he wanted. The following morning, with Grace still lying dead in room 308, he texted another woman he had met on Tinder, trying to arrange a date for later that day. During the investigation into Grace Millane's murder, it was revealed that Jesse Kempson was caught on CCTV footage going through her purse. This footage was from the night of December 1st, 2018, when Kempson and Grace were in his apartment after their date. After Grace's death, Kempson can be seen in the footage rifling through her belongings, including her purse. He took several items from her, including her ATM card, which he later used to withdraw money from her bank account. This behavior was part of a series of actions by Kempson that indicated a cold and calculated response to the crime he had just committed. Kempson's actions after the murder, including searching Grace's purse, withdrawing money using her card, and attempting to dispose of her body, were used as evidence of his intent and lack of remorse during his trial. These details further emphasized the callous nature of the crime and played a significant role in his conviction. Grace's parents became concerned after she did not reply to birthday wishes they sent her on December 2nd, 2018, and police started investigating after she was reported missing by her parents 3 days later on December 5th, 2018. The hotel she was staying at reported that she did not go back to her room on the night of her disappearance. Grace was staying at the Base Backpackers Hostel in central Auckland. On December 2nd, 2018, British backpacker Grace Millane should have been celebrating her 22nd birthday during the trip of a lifetime in New Zealand. Thousands of miles from her home in Essex, the messages and requests for video calls from friends and family kept pinging through to her phone, but they were never answered. Her disappearance made headlines around the world. Police initially said that there was no evidence of foul play. Grace's family had described their loss of contact as completely out of character and reported the missing 3 days after her birthday, which caused the police to launch what was initially a missing person investigation. Days later, after Grace was reported missing by her parents and a huge hunt got underway, Kempson was interviewed for the first time after police discovered that he was the last person to see Grace alive. He had been identified by a detective as a person of interest after she spotted that he had left a message on her Facebook page at 9:29 p.m. on December 1st, 2018, just 11 minutes before they left the Bluestone room and went to his room. He wrote, "Beautiful, very radiant," under Grace's updated profile picture. Before the comment, Kempson had written a post that caught attention. In the post, he apologized for his mistakes, arrogance, and selfishness. Kempson has been described by people who knew him as a failed salesman who had become obsessed with online dating and told women, colleagues, and friends a never-ending stream of bizarre lies to boost his ego or attract sympathy. Who is Jesse Shane Kempson? Kempson was born and grew up in the Wellington region. After his parents separated when he was 9, he was raised by his father and grandfather. His mother moved overseas while his father remarried and had a step-family. At Aotea College, Kempson played softball at a regional representative level for multiple teams. He worked as a bartender and builder, or rather a laborer, and also lived in Sydney, Australia between 2013 and 2016. Kempson was estranged from his family. He also had a drunk driving conviction in New Zealand and had been arrested for disorderly behavior in Auckland and Sydney. Kempson's paternal grandfather also alleged that he had fathered a child while living in Sydney, but this is disputed by other relatives.
Tell us about Grace.
So I was talking to Grace on Tinder.
Yeah.
We'd matched on Friday. I saw that we'd matched the next day on Saturday. And then we met at Sky City. And then we decided that we were going up to Andy's Burger Bar, which is on the first floor.
Whose idea was it to go to that particular burger place?
Me, because I didn't initially know that she was real.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a lot of... So have you heard of catfish?
No.
So catfishing is where someone uses your profile, or uses your photos and pretends to be you and then meets, and you're a completely different person.
How does meeting in a public place sort of protect you from meeting someone who's not as good looking as...
Well, there's security there. So if she wasn't who she said she was,
Yeah.
at least in my mind I'd feel safe. Yeah, that's us.
Down there?
Yep. So she's going that way, and I'm going across the street. I go down Queen Street. No, I go down Victoria Street, straight down to the bottom, and then hang a left, and I head towards the viaduct.
You've kind of walked in a bit of a funny direction if you were planning to go to the viaduct. Is there a particular reason you were going to do that?
I feel safer down that way.
And we're very, very concerned for her safety, obviously.
Yep.
It's entirely possible that she's been the victim of foul play.
Okay.
You understand what that means?
Yep.
What would your feelings be about providing us with a voluntary DNA sample in the event that we can compare that against something? Would you be happy
Yeah,
with
100%. I mean, I know I haven't done anything wrong, so I'm happy to do it.
that? Okay. At this stage, we don't know what's happened to this girl.
Okay.
It's possible that somebody has killed her. Okay?
Okay.
You understand that?
Yeah.
She might, when I say foul play, I mean that someone might have murdered her. Don't know if she's been murdered or not yet. She may be alive and well.
Okay.
But she might also be dead.
Okay.
Okay? And it could be that you've done it.
Hey, I just want to ask a question. Am I being arrested for something I didn't do?
You haven't been arrested, mate.
I was like, holy shit.
In his initial police interview, Kempson had told police that he and Millane had parted after their date at around 10 p.m., and that was the last time he saw her. Kempson told officers he tried to re-establish contact with her after the Tinder date, but that never worked out. Grace unmatching him on Tinder, he said, caused him anxiety and depression. He became a suspect after the CCTV evidence contradicted his version of events. Although Kempson claimed to the police that he and Grace had parted ways, CCTV footage clearly captured them entering City Hotel together, hand in hand, and heading toward a hotel room. However, one noticeable detail was that Grace was nowhere to be found. The next morning,
which was meant to be Grace's birthday, Kempson was spotted leaving the hotel. The police began monitoring his every move for several hours and captured footage of him entering a shop to purchase a suitcase. Afterward, he went to buy cleaning supplies. Just before noon, he visited a car rental company and rented a red Toyota car. Some hours later, he met up with another woman from Tinder. She later reported that during their conversation, he made unsettling remarks about burying bodies and mentioned that his friends were police officers. Feeling uncomfortable, the woman declined to get in the car with him, chose to go home alone, and never spoke to him again. Kempson returned to the city center, this time to rent a Rug Doctor carpet cleaning machine. He told the hotel staff that he needed to clean up some red wine stains. Later, around 9:30 p.m., Kempson loaded 2 suitcases onto a hotel trolley.
The footage captured Kempson the next morning, December 2, 2018, dragging 2 suitcases, one of which contained Grace's body, out of his apartment and into an elevator. The footage shows Kempson struggling to move the heavy suitcase, indicating the weight of the contents. This visual evidence was crucial in the investigation, as it demonstrated his attempt to conceal the crime. Kempson later transported the suitcase in a rented car to a remote area in the Waitakere Ranges near Auckland, where he buried Grace's body. The footage of Kempson with the heavy suitcase was presented during the trial, underscoring the premeditated and calculated steps he took after committing the murder. It also illustrated the cold and deliberate manner in which he tried to cover up his actions.
Around 7 a.m. the following day, he was once again caught on camera, this time purchasing a shovel. Two hours later, he was seen power washing a car. Afterward, he returned the car to the rental company. On December 5, 2018, the day Grace was reported missing, Kempson was observed visiting multiple locations and disposing of items in various bins. Police arrived at the City Life Hotel to speak with Kempson. As they approached the front desk, Kempson coincidentally returned to the hotel. Upon spotting the police, he quickly turned around and walked away, keeping his head firmly turned in the opposite direction. The police noticed him, pursued, and brought him in for questioning. Police initially said that there was no evidence of foul play, but later gathered evidence that she was no longer alive. Despite Kempson denying any wrongdoing, the police conducted a thorough search of his hotel room.
In Jesse Kempson's room, the police found several disturbing items that provided crucial evidence in the investigation of the murder of Grace Millane in New Zealand. The key discoveries included 1. Suitcase. A large suitcase that was later confirmed to contain the body of Grace Millane. This suitcase was found in the luggage storage area of the City Life Hotel where Kempson was staying. 2. Cleaning supplies. Police found evidence that Kempson had purchased cleaning supplies, including bleach and various other cleaning products, suggesting an attempt to clean up the crime scene. 3. Cell phone. In Jesse Kempson's room, the police found several disturbing items that provided crucial evidence in the investigation of the murder of Grace Millane in New Zealand. The key discoveries included 1. Suitcase. A large suitcase that was later confirmed to contain the body of Grace Millane. This suitcase was found in the luggage storage area of the City Life Hotel where Kempson was staying. 2. Cleaning supplies. Police found evidence that Kempson had purchased cleaning supplies, including bleach and various other cleaning products, suggesting an attempt to clean up the crime scene. 3. Cell phone. Kempson's cell phone was found to contain searches related to disposing of a body, as well as disturbing pornographic content viewed after Millane's death. His phone also revealed photos of Millane's body taken after her. Last but not least, the police did find blood in Jesse Kempson's room. During their investigation, forensic experts discovered traces of blood in the hotel room where Kempson had stayed with Grace Millane. Specifically, blood was found in areas that had been cleaned, indicating an attempt to remove evidence. These blood traces matched Grace Millane's DNA, further corroborating the evidence that she had been killed in that room. The presence of blood played a crucial role in establishing the sequence of events leading to her death and Kempson's subsequent attempts to cover up the crime. The police used luminol to discover blood in Jesse Kempson's room. Luminol is a chemical that reacts with iron and hemoglobin, causing it to emit a blue glow in the dark, which is visible under special lighting. This technique is particularly useful for detecting blood that has been cleaned up or is not visible to the naked eye. In Jesse Kempson's case, luminol was applied to various surfaces in the hotel room, and it revealed traces of blood that had been partially cleaned. These traces were then further analyzed, confirming that the blood belonged to Grace Millane. The luminol tests were crucial in uncovering evidence that Kempson had attempted to conceal. These findings were critical in the prosecution's case against Kempson, leading to his conviction for the murder of Grace Millane.
While the police were catching up with Kempson, on December 7, 2018, David Grace's father arrived in Auckland and made a heartfelt appeal for assistance to the public.
Thank you for coming today. As you know, Grace has been missing for several days. We last had contact with her on Saturday the 1st of December, and as a family we've been extremely concerned for her welfare. Grace is a lovely, outgoing, fun-loving, family-orientated daughter. Grace has never been out of contact for this amount of time. She's usually in daily contact with either her mother, myself, her two brothers, members of the family on social media. She arrived here on the 20th of November and has been bombarding us with numerous photographs and messages of her adventures. We are all extremely upset, and it is very difficult at this time to fully describe the range of emotions we are going through.
On December 8th, Kempson was arrested and charged with murder after the inquiry into Grace's disappearance is turned into a homicide inquiry due to mounting evidence.
That you're willing to speak to us about the events of last Saturday, is that correct?
Yes.
Tell me what happened last Saturday.
She started talking to me about 50 Shades of Grey. We started having sex. At first it was just normal. And then she asked me if we could get into bondage, having, I guess, more violent sex. We ended up on the floor, and then she told me to hold her throat. So I went into the shower, and then all I remember is falling asleep in the shower. I need to stop. I need to go. I went downstairs and I was just, I don't know, I was all over the place.
You come out of the shower,
Yep.
The light's been on in the shower,
Yep.
you put a towel around you,
Yep.
You've turned the light off, and
Yep.
then you've returned to your bed and you've gone to sleep in your bed.
Yep.
And at that point, when you exit the shower, you don't look around, but your assumption from the silence.
I thought that she had gone. I thought she had left.
We're going to head out of here very, very soon, and you're going to take us to where you've buried her.
Yeah.
She will likely be exhumed tomorrow
Okay.
at some point, and after that, a pathologist, a specialist doctor, will perform a post-mortem.
Yeah.
They're very skilled at establishing people's causes of death. Understand that?
Yeah.
Did you kill Grace Millane? Okay. Jesse Kempson, you're under arrest for the murder of Grace Millane.
Grace Millane's body was found in a shallow grave in the Waitakere Ranges, a forested area located west of Auckland, New Zealand around 4 p.m. Jesse Kempson had placed her body inside a suitcase, which he then buried in this remote location. The police discovered her body there on December 9th, 2018, about a week after she was reported missing. The discovery was made following an intensive investigation that traced Kempson's movements and actions after Millane's death, including surveillance footage and cell phone data that led the police to the burial site.
Further investigations of the area where Millane was found occurred on December 11th. Police sought the public's assistance in locating a shovel they believed was connected to the inquiry. A shovel matching the police's description was found on December 13th, 2018. Authorities also asked for help in tracking the movements of a rental car Kempson had leased between December 2nd and 3rd. The car was released and found on December 8th in Taupo, 275 kilometers, 171 miles, south of Auckland. Kempson, 26 years old, was taken into custody on December 8th at 3 p.m. He had been staying at the City Life Hotel in central Auckland. Kempson appeared in the Auckland District Court on December 10, 2018, charged with murdering Millane. During his initial court appearance, Kempson was denied name suppression, but the defense appealed this decision, which automatically triggered an interim name suppression for 20 working days. However, the suppression order could not be enforced against media outlets outside of New Zealand, and several, particularly in the United Kingdom, chose to publish Kempson's name. Google also included Kempson's name in an email sent to subscribers of its newsletter on trending topics in New Zealand, stating that 100,000 searches had been conducted for the name within the country. The defense wanted Kempson's name suppressed so that his right to a fair trial is not jeopardized. Kempson was held in custody and appeared in the Auckland High Court on January 16, 2019, where he entered a not guilty plea. His identity remains suppressed pending an appeal. The appeal was heard in the High Court on February 7th, but the judge reserved his decision, so the suppression order remained in place until the ruling was issued. Kempson was officially identified on December 22, 2020, after the Supreme Court of New Zealand denied his appeal to maintain name suppression. It was also revealed that Kempson had been convicted of a total of 9 charges, including sexual assault, threats to kill, and assault, in 2 separate sexual violence trials held before a judge in October and November 2020, which were unrelated to the Millane case.
It was an accidental death that took place in the context of sexual activities that, if done incorrectly by inexperienced and/or intoxicated people, can go wrong.
Jesse Kempson's trial for the murder of Grace Millane began on November 4th, 2019. The trial took place at the Auckland High Court in New Zealand and lasted for about 3 weeks. During the trial, the prosecution presented evidence including CCTV footage, forensic analysis, and testimonies, while the defense argued that Grace's death was an accident during consensual sexual activity. Jesse Kempson's defense against the charges of murdering Grace Millane primarily revolved around the claim that her death was accidental and occurred during consensual sexual activity that involved rough sex. Kempson argued that Millane's death resulted from asphyxiation during a consensual act that went tragically wrong. Key points of his defense included accidental death. Kempson claimed that Millane's death was an accident during consensual sexual activity that involved choking. He argued that they had engaged in rough sex that included practices such as strangulation, and that her death was not intentional but an unfortunate consequence of these activities. He asserted that Millane had consented to the rough sexual practices they engaged in, suggesting that she was a willing participant in the actions that led to her death. Kempson maintained that he had no intention of killing Millane and that her death was unintentional. His defense emphasized the lack of premeditation or malicious intent. However, the prosecution presented evidence that contradicted Kempson's claims, including his actions after Millane's death, such as searching for ways to dispose of a body, taking photographs of her after she died, and lying to the police about what had happened. The autopsy of Grace Millane revealed that she died from pressure to the neck, consistent with strangulation. The pathologist who conducted the autopsy testified during Jesse Kempson's trial that Grace Millane had sustained significant injuries, including bruising on her neck, which indicated prolonged and forceful pressure. The cause of death was determined to be asphyxiation due to compression of the neck. This autopsy report was a critical piece of evidence in the trial, as it directly contradicted Kempson's defense that her death was an accident during consensual rough sex. The findings strongly supported the prosecution's argument that Millane's death was intentional and resulted from Kempson's actions. New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern issued a heartfelt apology to the family of Grace Millane, a British backpacker who was tragically murdered in New Zealand. She expressed deep regret, stating, "Your daughter should have been safe here. She wasn't, and I'm sorry for that." This apology reflected the national sense of shame and sorrow over the incident.
See, I cannot imagine the grief of her family and what they will be experiencing and feeling right now. And my thoughts and prayers are with her father, David, who is in the country, her mother, Gillian, who cannot be here, and her wider family, friends, and loved ones. And so, on behalf of New Zealand, I want to apologise to Grace's family. Your daughter should have been safe here, and she wasn't, and I'm sorry for that. I've advised the family through the police that if there is anything we can do to assist, we are here to help with that.
Throughout the trial, Kempson maintained his innocence, but he was ultimately found guilty and sentenced to life in prison.
The jury found Kempson guilty of murder in November 2019, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum non-parole period of 17 years in February 2020.
During this time, 2 additional victims came forward, accusing Kempson of sexually assaulting them after meeting him on Tinder. In October 2020, Kempson was convicted of 8 more charges related to these offenses, including using a knife on a woman in one attack and raping another woman on their first and only date in April 2018. For these crimes, Kempson received an additional 11-year prison sentence, which will run concurrently with his life sentence. Details of these cases only emerged last year after Kempson's attempt to overturn his murder conviction and sentence at New Zealand's Court of Appeal was unsuccessful.
Grace Millane's murder prompted widespread discussions about the safety of women, particularly in the context of online dating and solo travel. Her family set up a charity in her memory to support vulnerable people and raise awareness about violence against women. The case also had significant legal and social implications in New Zealand, with debates about the defense of rough sex and the rights of victims' families during trials. Grace's story continues to resonate, serving as a poignant reminder of the dangers that can lurk even in seemingly safe environments. Grace Millane's mother, Gillian Millane, delivered a powerful and emotional victim impact statement during the sentencing of Jesse Kempson, the man convicted of Grace's murder. Her words captured the deep pain and loss the family experienced due to Grace's tragic death. Gillian Millane described the profound grief that Grace's murder had caused, not just for her immediate family, but for everyone who knew and loved her. She spoke about how Grace was our sunshine, and how her death had left the family devastated and heartbroken. In her statement, Gillian detailed how Grace had been an independent, fun-loving, and adventurous young woman who was excited about exploring the world. She expressed the immense sorrow of losing a daughter in such a brutal manner, and how the family's lives were irrevocably changed. Gillian also talked about the overwhelming pain of having to fly to New Zealand, halfway around the world, to bring Grace home in a coffin. One of the most poignant parts of Gillian's statement was when she talked about the future that was stolen from Grace, how she would never have the chance to fulfill her dreams, experience love, or have a family of her own. She expressed how every day was a struggle, knowing that Grace would never return. Gillian Millane's words were a moving tribute to her daughter and a powerful condemnation of the man who took Grace's life. The statement underscored the devastating impact that such a crime has on a family and served as a reminder of the preciousness of life and the deep, enduring pain of loss. Sadly, Grace Millane's father, David Millane, passed away in November 2020. David Millane, who had been a strong advocate for justice following his daughter's murder, died after a battle with cancer. David played a significant role in the aftermath of Grace's tragic death. He traveled to New Zealand to help with the search when Grace was first reported missing, and he remained there during the trial of her murderer, Jesse Kempson. David was present in the courtroom throughout the trial and sentencing, where he delivered an emotional victim impact statement alongside Grace's mother, Gillian Millane. David Millane's death was a devastating blow to the Millane family, who had already suffered so much due to the loss of Grace. His passing was reported as being particularly tragic, given that it occurred just 2 years after Grace's murder. David was remembered as a devoted father who fought tirelessly to ensure that his daughter received justice. Following the tragic death of Grace Millane in December 2018, there were numerous vigils and gatherings held across New Zealand, including in Auckland, to honor her memory and raise awareness about violence against women. These events brought together people from various communities to mourn her loss and express solidarity against gender-based violence. While these gatherings were primarily memorials and vigils, they also served as platforms for discussing and protesting issues related to women's safety and violence. Participants used these events to call for greater awareness, policy changes, and societal shifts to better protect women and prevent such tragedies in the future. The widespread response to Grace Millane's death highlighted the deep concern and desire for change regarding violence against women both in New Zealand and internationally. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think and leave the comment below. Click that like button and the notification bell. We upload videos every week. Take care.